Oh,
I was there, but that
whoa. That thing is so scary.
I think I've been.
Hey everyone, this is Curb and I bring you another standard match. Today we once again have Rezael on the left, but this time it is going to be going up against Avangarda on the right. So let's go ahead and hop into the match. So it looks like we do have Rezael going first. He's going to be discarding that counter charge in order to ride up, gaining that energy crest of course. And then of course we are going to just passing over to Avangarda, who is just going to be discarding a copy of the grade 2 dusting and riding into of course just that grade 1. Going to be getting the energy marker there, and of course going to be allowing us to draw a card. And then we're just going to swing and pass, which is pretty typical for Avangarda. You don't usually call anything if you're going first, or you don't really call anything until you get to grade 2, I should say, because most of the time you're just calling the like Hathaway, and then obviously you need a CB if you want to call the Hathaway. But we do see a front trigger coming out there, but it was blocked by a 15k shield, so Rezael is going to be going into this next turn with 0 damage, which, you know, in most cases is perfectly fine. I mean, sometimes you do want to play the order, but I guess we didn't have it, and we didn't think we'd draw into it, so things are looking pretty fine, I would say. So, discarding the Biscotti to ride up into, of course, grade 2, using the skill of the grade 1 Tranquilla, revealing those 3 cards, checking top 5 for a grade 1 to superior call. Looks like we get another copy of that counter charger there. So, we're looking pretty good. We've got a nice Vanguard column here, kind of ensuring that our opponent is going to have to take it, because that's just going to be too big of an attack to actually guard there. So, just going to shuffle up the deck. And I guess we don't really have anything else that we want to call. Like I said, we don't have any CB, so theoretically something like a Cabre, which we've seen this player use Cabre in the past, but obviously that's not something that we're going to be doing here. I can't really think if there's anything else you would want to like aggress with right here. I guess if you have a Selgown, maybe you call another column, like maybe just call one of those grade 1 counter charges if you have another one, and just like swing face. But it's looking like we might just go with Vanguard and just push that guaranteed damage. Oh, it looks like we are going to be calling exactly as I said, kind of calling the Selgown, basically just calling the Turnar so that you can actually use a Selgown effect, swinging the 23, which is a very good magic number against this 8k Vanguard. So naturally we do have to take that. Unfortunately, we don't hit a defensive there, which would have been really nice, because, you know, that would have allowed us to at least maybe be able to stave off this 18k attack. But now we're going to be going for a 1 to pass, and looks like that 1 to pass is not going to pan out, as we do see a critical trigger being flipped there. So wasting a 15k shield for basically nothing, and then still going to 3. So definitely things not looking good for Avangarda at this moment in time, as we ride up into the grade 2. That is going to allow us to search out the Kill Shroud, the only grade 1 strategy order that we do have for Avangarda, of course. You know, I think it'd be interesting if they ever want to revisit Avangarda, maybe just like give us a new strategy card. I think that'd be pretty cool, but I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath. Like, when was the last time I got Avangarda support? Set 13? Man. Anyways, we do see the Hathaway here being called, of course, just counterblasting. I guess remembering to counterblast the order so that you can soul blast, or you can heal it out, and then, you know, just add it back to your hand. But we do actually see a second Hathaway here, which is something that you don't actually see every day, just because, you know, most of the time your game plan is take 1 damage and then, you know, just be at 1 and then use the other Hathaway next turn. But this Hathaway is going to just, you know, do Hathaway things. You got a 20k column on the Vanguard circle, so that's pretty much unguardable unless you want to go for a very risky 1 to pass. Looks like we're not going to be committing anything, which is pretty typical. A lot of the Avangarda stuff is kind of locked behind Avangarda itself, so it makes sense that a lot of the time your turn 2 play is just boosting Hathaway for a nice 20k guard. Anyways, looks like we're deciding whether or not we want to guard this. I mean, theoretically, we could use a turn art to, like, counterbalance. Like, we go 25. Actually, no. Thanks to the Hathaway, that makes it a 30. But looks like we do see a 1 to pass there. Oh, because we swung at the rear guard, which is interesting. I guess it makes sense because if Rezael goes into this turn, they don't have any CB, they can't do anything. So that's probably why we targeted the Turner there. We did kind of waste a 15k shield there guarding. We lost 2 units for the price of 1, I guess. But of course, you know, riding into Rezael, we still get the Cell Gown back. So just being able to abuse that dog over and over again is just going to make it so that, you know, we can still at least maintain advantage as we're doing pretty sizable attacks, I would say. As we've got the Rezael just swinging there. No skill, obviously. We don't have any CB, so we're going to be taking this, getting a draw trigger there, giving the power to that, what's her name, Nobia. Avangarda did actually manage to heal down there, so we got the strategy order out of the way, so that should be pretty good. This Nobia only swinging for 33, an easy 15k block thanks to that defensive that we did get. So Avangarda finally going to be going into Avangarda. So this is where the game really begins for Avangarda, as riding into the Avangarda is going to allow us to search out that copy of the Dusting. Looks like we do probably play the 2 copies, which I think still is pretty good. Like, I know I used to play with just 1, and I think I even like got 10th place in DCS only playing 1, but you know, just having the extra copy is always just nice. It just kind of ensures that you'll always have it, because it's not like super important, but I think it's always just the best, you know, soul in target, using our cycle card there to kind of just maintain some more advantage. We got plenty of cards in hand, so now we do have to think about how we want to attack this turn. So of course we're going to start off by playing that Dusting there, and then we are going to be putting, interestingly enough, the Kill Shroud into the soul, which I haven't played Avangarda in a long time, and I know board control is cool and all, but I think we talked about this in the last game. Board control doesn't really mean shit against Rezael, considering that they can revive things. The only thing you're really accomplishing is kind of like forcing them to use some of their revive skills, getting back those pieces instead of, you know, more stronger attacking units. So I guess it's not the worst, but I don't know. In this situation, you're really far behind. I mean, it's 0 to 3. You've got to push a lot of damage here, and I feel like the Dusting is probably going to be like your best bet there. Then again, at the same time, like, you're gonna swing Vanguard here, unless your opponent has like 2 options. Like, one, they can just like not take it and stay at 0 for another turn, which is honestly still kind of disastrous for you because you do need to catch up in that tempo. So it's just kind of but anyways, we do see a little bit of a misplay here. We're going to try and use the Energy Cycler, but it is like a habitable zone where you cannot actually use the skill unless you're under Persona Ride. The only one that you can use is a discard of Guardian Circle. So obviously we're just going to take that back and fix our mistakes. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. You do want to have as much pressure on the Avangarda this turn, but at the same time, there is a little bit of like trickery. Like, your opponent might just take the Vanguard because they need the damage. Theoretically, what you could have also done is maybe just call one Alamirage or whatever she's called, the lady as I always called her, and then just swing Van. If they don't let it hit, then you just swing, okay, let me just swing Rear at your Nobia. Just like continue to damage deny them, which is a play. It enables you to go for like stronger turns next, have a stronger next turn. But at the same time, like I said, you're kind of very far behind on this tempo. As we see the Vanguard being PG'd, which is kind of unfortunate. We're really hoping to, like, you know, actually get one, because the first Avangarda attack is clearly just like the weakest. So we're going to be swinging that lady in at the Nobia there. A very nice 15 magic number against that 10k rear guard. So if we want to guard that, we're going to have to commit a 10k shield. And it's looking like we do have that draw trigger there. So I guess we're just kind of deciding if we want to, you know, guard that Nobia. Like, it's a pretty, it's an okay unit. I mean, it's like a 20k attacker, but it does cost soul, which is not really something that Rezael usually tends to have a ton of, just because they end up using this on Tayfault. They have to use one soul for the divine skill, and nothing in the deck inherently kind of just like makes soul on its own. So a little bit of a conundrum here. So I guess we're still thinking about whether we want to keep that Nobia. I mean, looking at the hand, it doesn't look like we have a ton of other good units, so there might be some validity to just like guarding this. But the problem with guarding this now is that you do have that other attack to deal with, which is at let's see, that's 25, 35. So that 35 could be swinging at the Vanguard, but it does also have a crit, and it looks like that crit is going to entice the Avangarda player to swing at Vanguard to finally get some damage on the board. And we see a wasted critical trigger there, as well as a PG going into damage zone. So pretty good checks for the Avangarda player there. So you finally been able to get yourself on the board, but now you do have to worry about Rezael actually being able to do things. So yeah, so Rezael is going to be starting off, of course, with that Persona Ride. Things are looking like it might be a little bit scary here. We do have the Cabre, so we're going to be replenishing that board, or I guess creating a board that's going to, you know, do things like attack. Off the top, looks like we have the Persona Ride, another PG, and a critical trigger from what I saw there. Once again, just going to be adding that Persona Ride there for next turn. So it's good in the sense that you have set up for next turn, you have a play next turn, you've got a really strong attacking turn, but at the same time, you did kind of want some units there. I mean, if we look at the hand, it seems like we might not have a whole ton of good stuff there, so maybe we need to, maybe we would have liked to, you know, just have things in order to, like, get boosters. Like, these are just 20k attacks, so they're not really that powerful. I mean, if you use Soul, Nobia can go up to 30, but outside of that, those are just like 10k guards. Even the Vanguard is only at 23, which is like a sizable number. It's like a 2-card guard there, but not really ideal, I would say. So I guess we're probably just checking the drop zone to see what we're going to be calling off of the Rezael skill once we go into it. So looks like we did actually have another copy of the countercharger in our hand, so that's gonna you know, kind of just what am I trying to say, invalidate the retire of the one last turn. Looks like we do use a Nobia skill here. Getting the extra 10k makes sense. She doesn't have a booster, so if you want this attack to be threatening whatsoever, you do kind of have to use that Soul, and we still do have a fair amount of Soul. So this first attack is going to be guarded, including an energy cycler there in order to just draw another card. So pretty good guard there. The next thing we do have to worry about is this Rezael attack. But looks like we are going to be swinging for the Cabre first. Not quite sure what the game plan is going to be here. Just guarding it for a 20. Maybe we want to call just one column. I think one thing that we could have done is there a called... actually, no, we're at 2 little damage. I was going to say call like something behind like a booster for the Cabre and then like another grade 2, but we're 1 damage short of being able to actually do that. As we do actually use the Aerial Sage here to, you know, countercharge, and then using the Rezael skill to counterblast 1. We can only call a grade 0 and a grade 1 here if we want to call 2 units. So it looks like we're going to be retiring the Cabre and calling out, if I had to guess, it's probably just going to be like Cellgown and the starter. But it looks like we're actually going to do a much more interesting play here as we decide to call a grade 0 as well as a Cabre here, and then use the Cabre skill in order to counterblast 1, soul blast 1, and check top 3, maybe get another booster. I think that if we were going to do this, maybe we should have swung Nobia, swing Rezael, call the Cabre over to the Nobia, and then call the grade 0 as a booster. But doing it this way does enable us to get potentially another attack with a booster there. Unfortunately, the top 3 is not really looking that good, as we're going to be calling a critical trigger, deciding not to add another Persona Ride, which is kind of interesting. That's the second time Cabre has revealed a Persona Ride on its skill this game alone. But it looks like the Rezael is going to be PG, discarding that copy of the Death Winds. Hopefully we have another copy in our hand, because that and Richter are going to be a really good play for this next coming turn. So we see the drive check. First one off the top going to be a critical trigger here. It's going to give me all the effects of the other critical trigger that was called off of the Cabre skill. And the second is just going to be a PG. So not really what you want to be seeing if you are the Avangarda player, just because, you know, PGs are not really good when you're swinging with or you don't want your opponent to have PGs when you're swinging big numbers with your Vanguard. This critical trigger is going to swing in for that 33, and then Cabre just for another 20. Honestly, like, if we don't have the shield, we could probably just take this attack. And it looks like we're going to be doing that, so just go to 4. And then we're going to go ahead and stand and draw. So we've got a pretty decent board set up here for Avangarda. If we have the Persona Ride Richter, we're looking to have a really good turn here. Looks like we do start off with that great Persona Ride. So this is going to be a pretty strong, impactful turn. The main problem is just going to be that 1 PG, which is going to be really hampering at least one of your Vanguard attacks. Maybe there's probably just like the first one, because that's probably the most threatening one, because it's the only one that actually has more than 1 drive. So we're going to use the first Avangarda skill here, getting an extra 5k, preventing intercepts and blitz orders this turn. So if we had any Elementaras in our hand, that is, of course, just going to be shutting it off. We see the third Hathaway here being pretty good, just going to be calling and digging a little bit deeper. And we've got pretty much ideal columns here. You've got 20k currently on board with the Hathaway as well as the Lady. And then, of course, that's not even accounting for all the extra power we're going to be getting off the Death Winds and the Lady skill herself. So we do have the Richter. Richter's going to be putting in the Death Winds, getting the extra 5k. So now the entire front row is going to be another 5k when it attacks. Unfortunately, that only sticks around for the first 2 Avangarda swings. So, but those ladies will be able to get their own power. As we swing this first Vanguard swing unboosted, going to be for a very strong 33 here. I think as a Rezael player, or as any player going up against an Avangarda deck, you kind of have just like one of 2 choices. Either you tank this one and then PG the second one, which might have any crits stacked on it, or you just PG this one and then kind of pray and hope they don't get anything on the next 2 drive checks, which is always a valid strategy. But at the same time, you do kind of want to ensure a little bit of damage here. But honestly, against Avangarda, it's not that difficult, because a lot of times the rear guards are just massive and you're just going to end up taking them anyway. Of course, the problem with that is that next turn, if they have another play next turn, like another Persona Ride, it makes things infinitely much more difficult for you if you are at higher damage. So it looks like we're going to be trying to hard guard this Vanguard here. Going to be starting off with that cat there for a 30k. That's going to match it, and then another 15k is going to make it a 2 to pass. So we're going to flip over the first check, going to be a nothing, and the second is just going to be another Freiheit to another blank. Definitely not what you're hoping for if you're the Avangarda player, but we still do have 2 more drive checks to hopefully do something about it. So I'm going to counterblast 1 for the Avangarda skill, discarding a card, just deciding what I want to, discarding a copy of that grade 2. Just like the 15k attacker, I think. Personally, I'm not really a huge fan of that card. Like, it's just whatever. But I know some people play it. Me, I'm just like, you only have like 1 good rear guard, and like, you always want it in the front row. Anyway, swinging the second Avangarda swing for 38, giving another 5k to all the front row units, and of course the ladies themselves getting 5k with their own skill, giving them a total of 10k off of that swing alone. This is going to be a 38 with 1 drive. Rezael looking a little bit low on hand cards there. Just going to be taking it. That first check going to be yet another blank. So we've seen 3 complete blanks here. And then deciding to use the Richter skill. Going to be rewriting into the Avangarda from the bind zone, giving it an extra 10k. We do lose the skill of the Death Winds now. But we're going to be boosting with that Hathaway. Getting that counter charge in, and then swinging the 33-43, I believe, yeah, 43, in at the Vanguard. Wait, no, it's just 33. I already counted the Persona Ride, so it's just 13, 23 on Persona Ride, 33 with the Hathaway boost, and then we have 1 drive check here, but we do get an extra 5k, so unfortunately, yet another blank, so 4 blanks in a row. Thankfully, we didn't see any defensives on the Rezael. I think that if Avangarda had seen even a single critical trigger there, the game probably would have been over, honestly. Like, no defensives. Rezael now only has 2 cards. They had that 1 PG, which is basically their only defensive maneuver. So, unfortunate for the Avangarda player. If you just can't flip crits, then I guess you just aren't good at the game. Anyways, we need to Energy Blast 7 in order to draw the card. Rezael a little bit struggling here with only a few cards left in hand now. Looks like we're calling a Cell Gown over the critical trigger there, just to make a column. And honestly, Rezael really looks like they have their back against the wall. If you remember what I said during the last turn, where it's easy to kind of just tank hints if they don't get crits. That's kind of true, but if you let them have another turn, then you're kind of in a very bad situation. But we do see the Divine Skill being procced here. I think that was like 5 critical triggers back into the deck, so definitely a bit scary for the Avangarda player. Like, there is a chance that they go swing ban, triple drive, crit, 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 and then you kind of just cry and die. Not necessarily in that order, but you know, Avangarda still does have a sizable amount of cards in hand. Without any triggers flipped over that drive check, that does kind of mean that the quality of cards in your hand is kind of probably not the best, especially since like one of the cards was another Richter. So I don't know, like, you're not, like, as an Avangarda player, you're probably not in like the best situation either, especially since we got like 4 to 5 attacks coming in here. Since we do have funny Cabre shenanigans. First one just gonna be swinging for a 20k. We guard that with a 15. This next attack gonna be swinging in for only 24 because we didn't play in order, and we also, you know, don't have more rear guards now. The one way to shut off Selgown is by, you know, creating a full board, and if you do that, unless they play the order for turn, then they're kind of screwed and they can't use a Selgown. But of course, you know, committing a full board is much easier said than done, especially like in the early game. Anyways, so we've got this 24. That's going to be an easy 15k block. Or theoretically, we could take it and get maybe a defensive, which would make things a little bit easier to guard. So it's going to be blocking that one. As we do swing the Rezael for a pretty strong 36. And unfortunately, I think you do have to PG or really hard guard this for like 2 to pass, because with a triple drive being active, it's pretty likely that Rezael is going to be hitting critical trigger here. So you do kind of have to be wary of that. You also have to like consider what else is going to be coming on down. As we see just a Cabre being called here, and then a countercharger behind it, not using the Cabre skill. Oh, never mind. We are going to be using the Cabre skill, as we're going to... we did see a PG coming on down for the Vanguard's attack. Going to be overcalling that grade 0 with a Biscotti. And with still 3 energy left, we could theoretically still use that Biscotti's skill to just like stack the deck even more, despite all the you know, triggers we already still have in deck. And looks like we're going to be opting to use that Biscotti skill, checking those top 3 cards of the deck. Going to allow us to stack at least 1 trigger. Unfortunately, if we do see like triple trigger here, we can only put 1 on top. The rest do have to go to the bottom of the deck. So now we're looking at a total of 5 attacks here, which is, you know, not where you want to be when you're at 4 damage. But hopefully, if they don't get 2 crits, you should be totally fine. Just because you can at least take 1 of them. First check is going to be a heal trigger, so that's going to be pretty bad for Avangarda. That kind of means you do need a crit in the next turn. Hopefully you at least have a Persona Ride. I know we have the Richter, but Richter is just not as good as Persona Ride in all honesty. I'm going to be giving all these skills to that Biscotti there. Drive checking a Persona Ride and another blank. So a very lucky only 1 trigger off of the Rezael's triple drive. So that's going to make these last couple attacks a little bit more manageable, as Biscotti swing in for 30. The other column is 33, I believe. Yeah, 33. So this is technically the smaller one. So we're going to be using that skill there to the energy cycler to draw another card. So we just need another 15k shield here. And I think you do kind of have to commit it here. Like, you already committed to Guardian, so we're going to commit that 15. Is this more powerful than I thought? I thought that should have just been 30, right? Did I miss something? Does Biscotti get power? I don't think so. Anyways, we are going to be taking this attack, but the attack is actually going to be going to the lady. So we did actually do a little bit of a damage check there. But of course, we're going to be PGing lady because she is very essential for this next turn. So we're going to be drawing for turn. Only 2 cards in hand. No orders in the order zone, so things are looking a little bit dicey. We're going to be EV70 to draw that card. Hopefully it can do something, but unfortunately it looks like all we have is that Freiheit to be a pitiful attacker there. We're going to use the Richter skill to bind the Avangarda, which I guess gets us a second Vanguard swing, and like I said, you do kind of need a crit in order to win here. But, you know, not really the greatest. Like yeah, you're swing here. The problem is this is only a 21k swing here. For you astute viewers that might be saying, oh, Hathaway, he's supposed to get 2k when he boosts. Did you know that Hathaway has a condition on that 2k power? you have to actually put a set order from your hand into the order zone, which unfortunately we do not see here, which means that those Hathaways are going to just be 8k boosters, which is deeply unfortunate, because that extra 2k power could have actually really mattered here. It's going to make things that much easier to guard, as we see a 28-30, which is, yeah, that's going to be a, how much is that? Oh, no, that's just 20k guard. That puts us up to 33, right? Yeah, that puts us at 33, making this a 2 to pass. So we see a critical trigger on our first swing here. So, like I said, you didn't need a crit to win. But I think here, unfortunately, the correct play is to gamble on that second trigger. And unfortunately, we don't see it. I think that that was our only chance to win. Definitely not a misplay to, you know, stack everything on the Richter there. I think that was your best chance of actually winning things this game, because this next swing can be for 23. I think this is your second chance. If you hit a critical trigger here, maybe you have a chance to win. I'm not sure what we have left in Rezael's hand. Not a whole ton, but probably enough to guard these numbers since they don't have Persona Ride on them. That Avangarda is swinging for just 28. The Freiheit just 18. The Freiheit does get shut down by a defensive here, and that's going to make the lady that much easier to guard. So we do kind of have to think here. There is definitely the possibility of no guarding this, because this is probably like the biggest swing, the most threatening. Can go up to 33 if they hit a trigger. And even if they do hit a trigger, oh, it looks like we are going to be taking it. And unfortunately, yet another blank off the Avangarda. And the worst case scenario, a defensive trigger for the Rezael. So all we can really do is swing the Freiheit in at that Biscotti. And then we can try to swing in with the lady. But unfortunately, 28 is not going to be enough to really hit over that defensive. Like, that's any 2 cards in the hand. They would have to have like 0 shield in order to be able to like not guard that. But Rezael is looking to be, you know, kind of the victor here. Like, they still have to push 2 damage, but Avangarda only has 2 cards left in hand. So our ability to guard, you know, 4 attacks this turn is going to be kind of just non-existent, especially with a Persona Ride from Rezael. Things are looking like it's just going to be the end here. I'm going to go ahead and just play that Wisdom in order to just draw the 2 cards. And then, of course, we do have to call 2 cards. Calling the Tayfault there, so we could theoretically use its skill. And now that we did actually play an order, the Sailgown is actually live. It's going to get an extra 5k. And you could theoretically, you know, dig deeper. But like I said, this realistically is just Rezael final turn. Not a whole ton, especially with that Sages coming down that Avangarda can really do to block here. The only thing that's going to keep him in this game is an OT, and, you know, what are the chances of that happening? I mean, deck is pretty compressed, so there is, I guess, the possibility. But even if you do get that OT, what are you going to do next turn? Like, if you don't have Persona Ride, then you don't really have any plays. You don't have a strategy order, you still don't have any plays. Just going to be taking that first swing. Obviously, we can't really, well, what was that, 33, 43? Yeah, we can't realistically guard that. Swinging in the Sages with the 13k boost for 36. I'm using the Sages to check the top card of the deck and just kind of stack it. Looks like we're thinking about that top card. We're going to leave it on top. I'm not sure what it is. It probably wasn't a trigger if we decided to that, but we decided we can't guard any of the attacks. We're just going to take this next one, and that is going to be the end of the match. So I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to do those YouTube things, to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.